You weren't born just to survive your life. Your purpose isn't simply to wake up, go through the motions, check the boxes, keep the peace, and call it a day. You are designed for something more meaningful, a life that is deeper and more fulfilling. You were meant to feel truly alive, not only on weekends or during vacations, but in the everyday moments of the life you wake up to each morning. Somewhere along the way, however, many people forget this truth. They begin to settle, stop dreaming, and exchange purpose for safety. They start believing that fulfillment, love, joy, alignment, passion, and peace are luxuries they don't deserve or can't have. This isn't usually a sudden surrender. It's a gradual process where they stop choosing joy, stop seeking challenge, and stop prioritizing themselves. When you cease to make conscious choices, you begin existing rather than living. You react instead of responding intentionally, and you wait for change instead of creating it. But life doesn't transform through waiting. It shifts when you decide to take action. When you draw a line and say, "I want more than just a good enough life." Not more possessions or distractions, but more alignment, truth, and meaning, then real change begins. A life you genuinely want to live, one you don't need to escape from, becomes possible. Creating a life you love doesn't rely on luck. It isn't about waiting for someone else to give you the answers. It's about building it, through unlearning limiting beliefs, taking risks, making shifts, and choosing values over validation. It involves prioritizing presence over perfection, and the present moment over endless. Never. You construct this life step by step, decision by decision, standard by standard, action by action. It's about saying no to what's convenient when it's not true to you, and yes to what challenges you when it aligns with who you want to become. The life you love isn't easy. It's earned through courage, clarity, and commitment. It requires coming back to yourself repeatedly, even when the world pulls you in different directions. This is your permission slip, not to become someone new, but to reconnect with the version of yourself that has been buried. Buried beneath shoulds, timelines, guilt, and fear. The version that knows what lights you up, that still holds fire within. It's not too late. You haven't missed your chance, and you're not too far gone. What you want still matters. Who you are still matters. And this moment, right now, is not the end of your story, but the turning point. So what comes next? What does it look like to truly build a life you love? Not just talk about it or journal about it, but to take real, intentional steps. It starts with living intentionally and creating something that reflects your core values, not your fears. It's about cultivating a sense of home within yourself. The first lesson is to stop outsourcing your fulfillment. As long as you rely on others for your happiness, peace, or sense of worth, you will be forever chasing, waiting, and dependent on things outside your control. Many have been taught, directly or indirectly, that happiness comes from external sources: approval, relationships, status, recognition, or money. They chase achievements, hoping these will make them feel complete. They seek connection, believing it will make them feel seen. But when they finally get the title, the house, or the relationship, something still feels off. The internal ache remains because they thought external success would fix an internal void. But fulfillment is an inside job. It's built, not bought. It's grown, not gifted. Fulfillment isn't found in possessions, but in how you show up for yourself. It's rooted in honoring your values, protecting your energy, and maintaining healthy boundaries. You won't arrive there by waiting for the world to give you permission or for someone to choose you. It's about choosing yourself, deciding that your life is not an audition, and your happiness isn't on loan to others' opinions. This journey can be challenging because it requires you to stop blaming others and stop making your joy someone else's responsibility. It involves recognizing what needs you are trying to fill externally that are actually internal. What are you expecting from others that you haven't given yourself? What unspoken needs are you hoping others will fulfill? The truth is, love, peace, and worth are inside jobs. You must stop outsourcing these qualities, and instead practice cultivating them within. You stop outsourcing love and start practicing it within. You stop outsourcing peace and begin protecting it. You stop outsourcing worth and start owning it. Remember, no matter what others do or say, you are with yourself every day, through every conversation, decision, and quiet moment. When you build this inner foundation, you no longer need to rely on external validation to feel worthy. Stop relying on praise to feel proud. Stop needing rescue to feel safe. As you let go of these dependencies, you become truly powerful. You develop steadiness and experience real freedom. That freedom isn't loud or showy. It's calm and quiet. It's the knowing deep inside that you've got your own back, that you can hold space for your emotions and validate your own decisions. It's filling your own cup first before pouring into others. When you live from this inner space, everything begins to shift. Your relationships change because you're not showing up from a place of lack. You're not trying to be completed or fixed. Instead, you're contributing from a place of wholeness. This kind of presence and alignment is magnetic. People can feel it. They notice the peace, the strength, the difference between someone performing to impress and someone rooted in their true self. But none of this happens if you keep waiting and hoping life will feel different once they finally see you, love you, or choose you. You have to see yourself now. You have to love yourself now. You need to choose yourself today because fulfillment doesn't arrive all at once. It grows through moments, tiny decisions, daily habits, and how you speak to yourself when things go wrong. It's in how you move your body, how you nourish your mind, and how you walk away from what drains you, even when it's familiar. You don't need to be perfect or have everything figured out. The key is to stop handing your joy to people who weren't meant to carry it. Bring it back to yourself, one breath at a time, one choice at a time. This is how you begin reclaiming your power. Stop blaming the past. Stop waiting for others to act. Stop seeking outside what can only be built inside. Start with compassion, grace, responsibility, and honesty. The second essential lesson in building a life you love is to live according to your values. Emotions are temporary. They change by the hour. But values are anchors. When you've taken the time to define them, they can steady you when everything feels unstable. Most people live reactively, guided by how they feel. When motivated, they act. When tired, they shut down. When scared, they run. When excited, they overcommit. Their entire direction is driven by temporary internal states. But feelings aren't a reliable compass. They are signals. They can point out what matters, but they don't always tell the truth. Feelings reflect your interpretation, not necessarily reality. If you live solely by emotion, you'll keep cycling between progress and setbacks. Values, on the other hand, are chosen and reinforced. They are the principles you decide to uphold even when it's inconvenient. If you want a life that truly belongs to you, not one handed down by default, you need to understand your core values. Not vague words like honesty or hard work, but deeply personal definitions of what matters most. What are you willing to fight for? What will you sacrifice? What will you never compromise on? When you live aligned with your values, consistency naturally follows, not because you always feel like it, but because you've already decided. You don't need to wait for the perfect mood or moment. You simply show up, act in accordance with your principles, and maintain that alignment. This creates peace because you're not questioning every decision. You already know your guiding principles. Asking better questions can help you stay grounded. What would someone with my values choose right now? What would discipline do? What does my future need from me? These questions pull you out of emotional spirals and reconnect you with your purpose. This isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about integrating them, noticing them without letting them own you. It's about understanding your emotions, but choosing your behavior from a higher place. There will be days when you feel like quitting. That's normal. The key is to recognize your feelings, but act in alignment with your values regardless. When you feel like vanishing or giving in to the easy path, remember, if you haven't built the muscle of living your values first, those moments will define you, they will direct you. But if your foundation is strong, you'll still act. You'll honor your habits. You'll speak your truth. You'll follow through, not because it's easy, but because it's aligned with who you've chosen to be. This is how you build trust with yourself. You stop being unpredictable. You stop self-sabotaging. You stop starting over every time you face resistance. Instead, you start to feel solid, not perfect, but dependable. Because you're no longer at the mercy of the moment. You're guided by your deeper truth. Over time, this consistency becomes your identity. You become someone who shows up, does the hard thing, and is dependable, first for yourself, then for others. A life that doesn't reflect your core values will always feel off, no matter how shiny or impressive it looks on the outside. It will drain you, quietly, slowly, and eventually you'll either burn out or walk away from something you spent years building. So don't just chase goals. Define your values first, and let those values determine your goals, relationships, schedule, habits, boundaries, and yes, even your number. A life built on values doesn't just look good, it feels right. It feels honest, clean, and true, even when it costs you. Because when you're aligned, you know you're building something real. You're laying a foundation that lasts. The third lesson to build a life you love is to honor your pace while staying committed to your process. Everyone moves at their own speed. Everyone grows in their own time. The key isn't how fast you go, it's whether you keep going. Our culture celebrates urgency, fast results, quick wins, scaling rapidly, hitting milestones by a certain age. But that's a lie. Speed means nothing if it's not pointed in the right direction. Moving fast without purpose is empty. Progress rooted in purpose, however slow, is meaningful. Sometimes the deepest growth happens quietly, gradually, beneath the surface. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Stop letting timelines steal your peace. Some start fast and flame out. Others start quietly and build something enduring. Don't envy the noise. Build with roots, depth, and integrity. Focus on internal growth, not just external appearances. Your job isn't to rush. It's to move honestly, to keep showing up, even when progress feels slow or invisible. True transformation happens in the quiet moments, when no one's watching. That's when you're becoming. You don't need to explain or defend your pace. What matters is consistency, intention, and faithfulness to your process. Yes, it's tempting to skip steps or compromise standards to accelerate results. But shortcuts often cut off the very foundation you need. You don't need to be faster. You need to be deeper, stronger, and rooted. The world is full of people who achieve quick success but couldn't sustain it. They built too fast without becoming the person who can carry the weight. Don't be that person. Focus on becoming the kind of person who can hold what you ask for. Honor your process. Trust your timing. Every step, no matter how slow or small, matters. Even setbacks are part of your growth. Keep moving, even when it doesn't look like progress. Even when it feels uncertain or slow, if you're still moving, you're still building. If you're still trying, you're still growing. Progress doesn't always show up the way we expect. Sometimes it looks like taking a break. Sometimes it's about stepping back to regroup. Other times, it's about learning to say no. Or maybe it's about rebuilding something you rushed through before. And that's completely okay. What matters is that you don't stop. Don't let a slower pace become your excuse. Don't let delays define who you are. And don't believe that just because it's taking time, it's not worth it. It is. You are? As long as you stay committed to the process, the results will follow. And not just any results, the right ones. The ones that reflect your values. The ones that feel right in your body. The kind that let you rest easy at night, knowing you didn't compromise your integrity to chase a life that doesn't feel like your own. So you keep breathing. You keep trusting. You keep going. Remind yourself that progress is personal, and it's rarely a straight path. Sometimes, the slower seasons bring more growth than the fast ones. Your steady, honest, and disciplined process is what will guide you to the next right step in your life. The fourth lesson in building a life you love is learning how to respect your boundaries. A life without them isn't freedom. It's fatigue, burnout, and resentment disguised as responsibility. You can't build something meaningful if you're constantly ignoring your own needs just to keep others comfortable. Boundaries aren't barriers, they are guides. They don't shut people out. They define where you start and where you end. They offer clarity, safety, and space for connection without self-abandonment. But for many, setting boundaries feels selfish. They feel guilty for saying no or for protecting their peace. They believe that if they don't give endlessly, they're not being kind. But kindness without clarity creates confusion, and love without limits leads to resentment. If you're always the one bending, adjusting, and sacrificing, you eventually forget what your own life is supposed to feel like. You lose your rhythm because you've been following everyone else's. But you can't build a life rooted in fear, guilt, and people-pleasing. You need boundaries for your time, energy, phone, schedule, and even the kinds of conversations you allow. Boundaries don't have to be harsh, just consistent, clear, and aligned with your values. You don't set them to push people away, but to protect what matters: your peace, your purpose, your mental health, your family, your integrity. When you constantly put these second just to keep others happy, you're not truly serving them, you're sacrificing yourself. And that sacrifice, over time, leads to exhaustion and bitterness, which eventually shows through in your tone, your silence, your fatigue. But when you begin honoring your limits, everything shifts. You breathe more freely. You create with more clarity. You say no without guilt and yes with purpose. You stop apologizing for needing space. You stop squeezing into schedules that suffocate your spirit. Boundaries are not rejection, they are direction. They keep your energy focused on what really matters. They protect your creativity, your clarity, and your identity. Without them, your vision fades. You're not meant to be available to everyone all the time, especially if it comes at the cost of your own peace. You don't owe anyone explanations for decisions rooted in healing. You're not here to overextend so others can avoid discomfort. You are here to live with intention. Boundaries make that possible. They are the pause between reaction and response, the reminder that you are allowed to protect your life from what drains it. Yes, some people will feel uncomfortable when you set them, especially if they benefited from you not having any. But their discomfort is not a sign to stop. It's their chance to adjust. If they can't respect your new standard, that's not a loss. That's clarity. A life you love cannot be built on shaky terms or with people who only value you when you're convenient. So stay kind, stay clear, and hold your ground, even when it's tough, even when your voice trembles. Because every time you honor your boundaries, you teach your mind that you matter. You remind your heart that it's worth protecting. The fifth lesson in building a life you love is to prioritize alignment over achievement. Because achievement without alignment can leave you feeling empty, even if you look successful on the outside. It can lead you to chase goals that aren't really yours, live a life you didn't choose, or wear labels that don't fit who you are. We live in a culture that glorifies numbers, milestones, and recognition. But none of that will satisfy you if you've lost yourself along the way. People spend years climbing ladders, only to realize they were leaning on the wrong wall. They chase dreams handed to them by others, parents, teachers, society, and when they finally get there, they wonder why it doesn't feel fulfilling. Yes, achievements can feel good, but alignment feels right, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. A life you love is built on choosing alignment, over and over again. It's not about asking, "What can I do?" but rather, "What feels right in my spirit?" Not just, "What's the next step?" but, "What step fits who I am becoming?" Alignment doesn't mean avoiding hard work. It means your work has meaning. It means your goals match your values. It means your energy flows in the same direction as your peace. And that kind of clarity takes honesty. It requires regular check-ins with yourself. You have to ask, "Do I even want this? Is this really mine, or just what I think I should do?" If you're doing it for applause, safety, or someone else's approval, you'll always feel disconnected. But when you're aligned, you can move more slowly and feel more fulfilled. You can do less and feel more peace. You stop chasing and start creating, not from pressure, but from truth. That truth may challenge you. It may ask you to let go of what looks good to make space for what feels right. It may ask you to leave something good for something better. It may ask you to believe in yourself before there's visible proof. But if you stay aligned, you'll build something that feels like home. You'll wake up with peace, not panic. You'll move with clarity, not comparison. You'll stop trying to prove and start learning how to enjoy. So how do you know when something is aligned? You check in with your body, your energy, your intuition. Ask yourself, am I at peace here, even if it's hard? Am I growing here, even if it's slow? Because alignment isn't about speed, it's about direction. Am I becoming more myself, not less? Alignment isn't always easy. It's not about comfort, it's about truth. It's not about finding perfect conditions. It's about heading in the right direction. It's about choosing what feels honest over what simply looks impressive. When you build a life around alignment, everything shifts. You stop living in anxiety. You stop chasing empty results that never satisfy. You stop performing for people who don't know your story. You begin to move differently. More grounded, more present, more whole. This is how you build something sustainable. Something that doesn't burn you out. Something that doesn't demand endless hustle just to feel worthy. You begin to breathe deeply while you build. Because when your life is aligned, success feels like freedom, not pressure. Growth feels like evolution, not obligation. Love, real love, feels like expansion, not performance. So you check in with yourself. You slow down. You stop asking what's next, and start asking what's real. You stop wondering what they'll think, and start asking what do I know is right for me. You stop living from the outside in, and begin living from the inside out. Lesson 6 is to stop living by default, and start leading with intention. If you don't lead your life, something else will. Your past will lead it. Your fears will lead it. Your habits will lead it. Other people's expectations will lead it. And one day, you'll wake up inside a life that doesn't even feel like yours. Most people don't choose their life, they inherit it. Inherited beliefs. Inherited routines. Inherited values and definitions of success they never pause to question. They get swept up in momentum. And that momentum can carry them through years, sometimes decades, without ever asking, what do I actually want? Not what sounds good. Not what feels safe. Not what's familiar. What do I really want? What do I value? What would life look like if I designed it, instead of just reacting to it? Living with intention means you stop running on autopilot. You stop making decisions out of default, and start making them out of clarity. You stop filling your calendar by accident, and start filling it with purpose. You decide how your mornings begin. You decide what gets your energy. You decide who you're becoming, and align your actions to match. That kind of life doesn't just happen. It's built, slowly, deliberately. Not with perfection, but with consistency. It takes awareness. It takes courage. It takes pausing long enough to think before you move. Because motion without direction is just chaos. Activity without alignment is just noise. You can be busy every day and still feel lost if your energy isn't pointed toward what truly matters. So you slow down. You ask, what actually matters to me? Where am I headed? What is this season of life asking of me? And then, you build around that. You don't try to do everything. You don't say yes to please everyone. You don't trade your peace for someone else's urgency. You become strategic. You become clear. You say, no, not because you're cold, but because you're committed. And that clarity becomes your filter. It protects your energy. It sharpens your focus. It strengthens your pace. An intentional life may not look like everyone else's. It may be quieter. It may be slower. But it will feel like home. Because you're not following the crowd anymore, you're following your compass. That's freedom. That's power. That's ownership. And you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep asking, is this aligned? Is this me? Is this the life I want to keep building? And when the answer is no, you adjust. You don't judge yourself. You realign. You come back to what matters. Lesson 7 is to forgive the past so you can lead the future. You can't carry bitterness and vision in the same heart. You can't build something new while dragging old weight behind you. At some point, you have to let go. Not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer defines you. Everyone has been hurt. Everyone has a story. But you weren't built to live and rewind. You were built to rise. And rising doesn't mean forgetting. It means healing. It means choosing to no longer let pain be the one in charge. Pain is a powerful teacher, but a terrible driver. If you let it steer, it will shrink your world. It will harden your heart. It will make you afraid of the very things you were born to pursue. Forgiveness isn't approval. It isn't agreement. It isn't weakness. It's freedom. It's choosing to take your power back. Because every moment spent replaying the past is energy stolen from your future. And sometimes, the heaviness you feel isn't from what's ahead, it's from what you're still carrying behind you. You can't rewrite what happened, but you can rewrite what it means. And sometimes, the person you most need to forgive is yourself. For what you tolerated, for what you missed, for who you became just to survive. But survival mode is not your home. And shame is not your strategy. You don't punish yourself into healing. You love yourself into it. You say, I'm not perfect, but I'm learning. I'm not stuck, I'm healing. I'm not broken, I'm rebuilding. That shift? It changes everything. How you walk. How you love. How you trust again. Because a life built on self-blame will never feel like freedom. You must clear the ground, and forgiveness is how you do it. You don't need a ceremony. You don't need the apology. You just need the decision. I release this. I'm done rehearsing it. I'm done letting it lead me. It may take time. That's okay. But every time the old story returns, you remind yourself, I'm not who I was. I'm not what I experienced. I'm not staying in survival. I'm building something beautiful. Lesson 8 is to pursue progress, not perfection. Perfection is a lie. It will whisper. If it's not flawless, don't start. If you mess up once, quit. If it's not polished, it's not valuable. But that voice? It doesn't serve you, it stalls you. Perfection isn't a standard, it's a prison. It traps you in overthinking, in comparison, in never enough. But progress is different. Progress is honest. It accepts that life is messy, that growth isn't linear, That success is built in layers. Progress says, start where you are. Use what you have. Move anyway. You'll never feel fully ready. You'll never remove all risk. But if you wait for certainty, you'll miss every opportunity that required faith. Progress says, take the step, even if your voice shakes. Say yes, even while you're still learning. You will make mistakes. That's part of it. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. Don't avoid error, use it. Refine. Adjust. Keep moving. Because forward is forward, even if it's messy. This mindset frees you. You stop trying to be perfect. You start trying to be better. You stop delaying. You start building. Not for image, but for impact. Not for approval, but for evolution. And when you live that way, you finish what you start. You build momentum, and momentum compounds. The ninth lesson in building a life you love is simple but powerful. Give yourself permission to evolve. Growth means change. And change means becoming someone you haven't been before. That's not betrayal, it's transformation. You were never meant to stay the same. You are not a fixed identity. You are a living, learning, evolving human being. When you stop growing just to keep others comfortable, a part of you begins to fade. Too many people carry guilt for outgrowing situations, relationships, or roles. But that guilt is not yours to carry. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to want something different. You are allowed to shift your vision, adjust your values, and become someone more aligned, someone more alive. And yes, some people will say, "You've changed." They'll be right. Because staying the same would have meant lying to yourself. It would have meant silencing the version of you that's been waiting to breathe. Evolution is uncomfortable. It asks you to release old habits, outdated roles, and familiar patterns. It asks you to walk away from things that once fit, but no longer do. That discomfort, it isn't danger. It's development. It's the space where the old version of you fades and the new one takes form. And if you can stay in that space long enough, if you can hold the tension without retreating, you'll arrive at a life that feels more honest, more whole, more you. But this takes courage. Because transformation doesn't come with applause. It often comes with silence, with resistance, with questions from people who don't understand. You'll be tempted to shrink, to explain, to go back. But those who build lives they love, they don't retreat. They stop asking for permission. They stop explaining their growth. They stop shrinking for people who were never meant to walk where they're going. Choosing alignment over approval doesn't mean you stop loving others. It doesn't mean you isolate. It means you stop performing. It means you let your life be filled with purpose, even if that means some rooms go quiet. And the right people, the ones who are meant to stay, will grow with you. Or they'll cheer you on from where they are. Your evolution doesn't need everyone's approval. It just needs your commitment. Commit to the journey, to the stretch, to reintroducing yourself every time you uncover more of who you truly are. You are not meant to live under old titles or keep dimming your light for outdated spaces. A life you love is not built by staying static. It's built by becoming. And becoming is a continuous process, one that never really ends. That's the beauty of it. You don't need to have everything figured out to start. You only need to trust that your desire for more is worth listening to. Your discomfort isn't a mistake, it's a message. It's your soul asking for space. So give it that space. Let yourself evolve. Release the guilt. Walk into the unknown. And believe that on the other side of that change is a version of you who is free, rooted, and fully alive. The 10th lesson is just as vital. Build your life with people who feel like peace, not performance. Who you do life with matters just as much as what you do. You can achieve every milestone and reach every goal, but if you have to become someone you're not to be accepted, it won't be worth it. You weren't made to audition for love. You weren't built to shrink to fit in or to perform to be accepted. You were created to live and love freely, honestly, and without conditions. And for that to happen, you must choose your people with care, not just based on history or chemistry, but on alignment, on values, on the energy they bring into your life and the version of you they support. Some people will love who you were, not who you're becoming. Some are attached to your struggle because your growth reminds them of their avoidance. And if you're not mindful, you'll stay small just to keep them comfortable. But the life you're building requires truth. It requires relationships where your evolution is honored, not resented. Where your boundaries are respected, not criticized. Where your silence is met with grace, not guilt. You need people who hold space, who speak truth with compassion, who can sit with both your light and your shadows. People who reflect your worth when you forget, who keep you grounded when the noise gets loud. These kinds of relationships don't happen by accident. They come from intention, from asking the right questions. Do I feel safe around this person? Do they honor my no? Do I feel seen, or do I have to perform? Do they celebrate my growth or try to contain it? These questions matter, because the people around you will either lift you or slowly convince you to settle. You are allowed to protect your peace, to outgrow what no longer fits, to walk in your truth. You will be tested. You will face discomfort. You may even be misunderstood. But you will also rise. You will find your rhythm. You will return to yourself, again and again. So go build it. Not later. Not after the next big milestone. But now. Start building. Start becoming. Start choosing differently. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are right on time. And the life you want? It's not waiting on someone else to hand it to you. It's waiting on you to begin creating it.